Hello, welcome to Big Bang Radio Spotlights. This is a show where we talk to independent artists from all around the world all about their music and their process for making it. I'm your host, Isaac Anderson, and today I got to sit down with singer-songwriter Stephen Jacques. Without any further ado, here's the interview. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. I like to start at the beginning of everybody's musical journey just because they're so wildly different and they shape who we are as musicians. So to everybody at home, can you tell everybody what your earliest musical memory is?
I had a friend who had a Yamaha guitar when I was like 16, 17, and David Wood, he taught me my first few chords after school. We listened to some Beatles and Stones, and have great parties on Friday and Saturday night and get all kinds of trouble. And a group of us that were just obsessed with Beatles, Stones, Kinks, Joe's Garage, all that stuff. So David taught me those first. And so it wasn't until I was in engineering school a couple of years later that I bought my first Yamaha acoustic. So that's kind of the genesis of, the cool art and music scene in Richmond, Virginia, VCU having a great art scene down there in the city of Richmond. And I just grew up around a lot of people who are like artists, philosophers, musicians, actors. Richmond's always been kind of a hotbed for that. But I built houses and was an engineer for a lot of the career, but, having kids and stuff, and it didn't really give me much time, even though I've been playing the guitar for 10, 20, 30 years. It wasn't until later in my 40s that I had a chance to actually write some songs. And, I was building houses and I was an engineer. So I'm working at the University of Virginia and then building houses as a career. So it wasn't until Bear Stearns and that crash of the real estate thing in 2011 that I actually had time to do. And I, you know how it is the first time you do anything, right? Whether you're playing lacrosse or learning the banjo, the first time you write a song, you just have to remember with anything. And so many people have been an inspiration for me. You have to start. You have to grab that pen, and I'm reading Jeff Tweedy of Wilco's book now, and he talks about the same thing. Hit it hard, hit the strings hard, or make some noise, or listen to the noise of a forklift, or something that you're, relating with the sound and getting feedback, but get it moving and do something. So if you haven't written a song before, it's, and then of course, so much of the songwriting process is you're in silence, like me, like today I wrote a song and last night. So, especially during COVID with the prolonged isolation, but there's a lot of thing with writers and songwriters or writers where there's a lot of quiet. So I went from a career of a lot of building and stuff to this quiet. And then COVID comes along. So that's kind of how it started and kind of, so we're working on my 9th or 10th record right now with the producer, John Moran, but Alan Weatherhead, who did produced like the Cardigans and Cracker, and Jason Molina out of Ohio and Chicago for Magnolia Electric. So that's kind of been the musical journey for me in a nutshell.
How exactly did you guys get hooked up with each other? Because it looks like you guys have done a wealth of work, and you must like each other if you're hanging around with each other this much. But I know that relationship probably had to start somewhere.
Yeah, great question. I met Alan, and I'll tell you the long story, the quick story if I can.
Okay. I
was on a subway in New York City, and I was sitting next to this lady, and we were chatting, and I said to her, I wouldn't mind recording something, and she goes, well, I used to work for a publisher or something. She goes, why don't you find the best band that you love? And for me, it was Cracker, and find out who they recorded with. And so I think I did do that. Went back, grabbed a CD, flipped it over, saw the Sound of Music recording studio in Richmond, Virginia. And David Lowery of Cracker, I believe, was part owner of that with John Moran, my current producer. So I did a little record with Mark Graham in Charlottesville, Virginia called Intrepid Souls, my first one where, you go in there and you don't know what you're doing because it's the first time. It must have been 20 trips to the studio before I finally got this first record done. So I meet Alan Weatherhead because he's introduced as a recording engineer for the Sound of Music Studios, which was put on the map worldwide when they produced Sparkle Horse and Mark Linkous. And then that's a long story with Mark and warming up for Radiohead and all that stuff. So Alan and some of those guys there studied and trained under Don Smith, who did a lot of recording engineering for the Rolling Stones. So I met Alan and we started a record, working on a record called Dreams from a Canyon. Yeah, so it just kind of clicked, and he had so much experience when I first met him. So I was kind of like the fifth grader, and he was kind of like the PhD as far as, learning from this rock star guy who's very quiet and very humble. So that was kind of the story with Alan, and I think he's going to be based out of Asheville, North Carolina.
Not far away from us. About a couple hours away from us. And I kind of wanted to hop on to some of your recorded material right now. And you have a lot of recorded material out there, like we mentioned before, and a lot of them are under the name Box of Moxie.
Right.
How exactly did that come to be for you to put music under that name? And what exactly does that name mean to you?
When I was thinking of that, I like the song Box of Rain by the Grateful Dead, and I like good, positive energy, Moxie. And then I think I finished this record and I was holding it one day and I loved that first little record. And I was like, wow, this is like a little box of Moxie, a box of like some good energy and good love and spirit or something. So I didn't think I was going to do but that one record. At that time, okay, I'll just do this and I'm done, right? So, so recently, I've gone out of that just to my name, just like Stephen Malcolmus of Pavement. And then, sort of going under my name. And it's I think it's an easier way to communicate with people, to put your name there. And yeah, it's kind of a funny little name, Drive-By Truckers, B-52s. So, So it's just been the same team of people in the Richmond recording studio, but just sort of like a solo thing. And it's just like anything, you got to put the time into it. You got to be organized. You got to, it's a lot. The recording studio, and then the right people for that, right? And then the sonically, the order of your songs on the record, right? And what placement sonically, as you have 10 or 12 of those on Spotify, right? Tour dates, COVID comes along, right? And then your website, and then, downloading the files for a publicist or whatever, it's so much, but I just take it one day at a time. And I hope all of that answered your question.
One day you'll remember all the things as a kid you would do. When I left my Virginia farm to California with you in my arms, in the valley down there.
This album is under your own name and not under Box of Moxie. In your mind, why exactly did you decide to put this under your own name instead of the Box of Moxie project?
I think just to give a name to it instead of, Box of Squirrels or Drive-By Truckers, I think I want to do something that was, I think it is not necessarily branding, but people can identify with a person, even though my picture's never been on the cover of a record, instead of just a name. And plus I'm not touring. So it's almost like this identifying factor thing. And the way that internet and search things are, and who is this Box of Moxie? Okay, Stephen Jacques. Okay, I get that now. So with the website linkage, it still has Stephen Jacques and Box of Moxie, and all that is all like converged into the same website for the boxofmoxie.com, but the Spotify will have Stephen Jacques and then also Box of Moxie. But I'll just go under my name from here on out. Let's just look at those first 8 records. It's kind of like practice records.
Heard that, yeah, and it definitely sounds like you keep busy with everything. I mean, I know you say you kind of don't like to be as regimented as someone like a Jeff Tweedy or something like that, but it sounds like you definitely keep on the ball. You keep putting things out, and it seems like people are really responding to it. So very happy for you. And if people are watching this interview right now and say, oh, I want to check him out on social media, or I want to listen to him on Spotify or streaming, how can people find you on social media?
Okay, so they can go to boxofmoxie.com for our website, or Box of Moxie or Stephen Jacques, Jacques, on Spotify. On Spotify, they're going to see the 2 new singles, One Day You'll Discover and When I Fell in Love with You under my name, Stephen Jacques, and then like the 7 or 8 records and a greatest hits one for Box of Moxie on Spotify. And then Facebook, Instagram, Stephen Jacques Music on Instagram, Stephen Jacques on Twitter, and then Facebook, there's a Box of Moxie page on Facebook. So yeah, I've got some other people working on that with me with social media, because everything is just that, social media. So I've hired some people to do some more of that, because I'm in the studio and I'm writing, and then trying to keep up with every technological aspect of this is a daunting task, So it's a lot of different groups of people working with me, but they're all really proficient and really great at what they do. So
Heard that.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, very, very nice. Well, you're definitely doing everything that you can to make sure your music gets heard. So if anybody wants to check you out, there's social media tags, and you can find them on social media. So thank you so much, Stephen, for joining us. Before we leave, I have one more question. I don't know if you've ever seen a Big Bang Radio spotlight before, but I'm a musician, but I'm also a film lover, and I feel like musicians have a very special connection with film, because it's not too many worlds away from what we do as musicians. And you seem like a very passionate guy. You seem like you're into lots of different aspects of art, even your work as an engineer and building houses and stuff. Like, I feel like that's another form of art or expression, and I feel like you might have a soft spot for film. I don't know that for sure, but I feel like you might like film a little bit. So the last question I'm going to ask you: what is your favorite movie?
Boy, my favorite movie. Wow.
This is always the hardest one for people. They always have a hard time answering this one out of all the questions.
Wow. Oh, I'll go for a tie. 3 for a tie for first place. My hero, Daniel Day-Lewis, and There Will Be Blood. The Godfather, and of course Citizen Kane, with Orson Welles directing that, right? All that.
Thanks to Stephen for sitting down with us and talking all about his music. If you guys want to see more interviews just like this, you can go to facebook.com/Studio67NCC, youtube.com/NashConCollege, or you can find us on Instagram @Studio67NCC. Thank you all for watching. I'm Isaac Anderson, and until next time, stay lovely.